Good morning and welcome. My name is David Murray and I'm a Marketing Program Manager at CradlePoint, and I will be your host. Before we get started, allow me to note a few things about today's call. Namely, the phone lines of all attendees are muted, so if you have a question during the webinar, please input your question in the chat field at the bottom of the GoToWebinar pop-out box. We'll look to address your questions in a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Today we're talking about wireless backup or failover. If business continuity is important to you, and if uptime equals money to your business, if you're looking for a way to improve the speed and reliability of your backup network using a wireless connection without the hassles of tearing out your infrastructure, then this webinar is for you. Whether you use Cisco, Juniper, or whatever type of network you have, we have tips and strategies that can help you integrate 4G failover into your network easily and in a cost-effective manner. The bottom line is you don't need a forklift to get 4G speeds. Here to discuss in more detail is David Rush, a Senior Product Manager at CradlePoint. As a Product Manager at CradlePoint, David is responsible for managing the future product development roadmap as he works with R&D. Prior to CradlePoint, David worked as an ASIC design engineer at Marvell Semiconductor. David has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and as an undergraduate at MIT, he won the George C. Sherman Prize for Best Undergraduate Project in Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. David also holds an MBA from Boise State University. With that, I'd like to pass it over to David Rush. David.
Thank you, David. That was a great introduction. And welcome to all the folks on the line. We're going to talk about deploying 4G failover for your network. CradlePoint is the global leader in 3G, 4G network solutions. And I think we'll just jump right into it. We'll talk about what CradlePoint's target market is. We specialize and have got a strong foothold in distributed enterprise. So these are businesses with many locations, geographically distributed, and generally they have some few things in common. They're a small footprint, so anywhere from the size of a kiosk or an ATM to a mid-sized retail store. They have very few on-site IT resources, and they have a high cost of downtime, meaning they're processing a lot of customer transactions. And so we're in lots of retail stores, quick-serve restaurants, convenience stores, as well as branch offices with, again, a strong foothold in the financial space, and then kiosks, ATMs, digital signs as well. We also work really closely with the carriers. We have direct access to the labs at Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, and the other carriers that allow us to meet one of our goals of providing a wired experience over the wireless network. So why is business continuity important? Well, one of the main places it shows up is in terms of disaster recovery. What happens when a major disaster comes by and takes out the network? And there was, Hurricane Isaac last fall and Katrina before that, and most recently the tornado in Moore, Kansas that devastated the networks. And one of the things people don't realize is the wired network is often the first to go down, especially with, say, earthquakes or hurricanes. The infrastructure is damaged, water just takes out the ground network quickly. And so customers need a backup solution for their internet. One of the ways to do that is to get two wired connections. However, what most people don't realize is that last mile of connectivity to the business is often buried in the same trench. So if one wired connection is disabled or damaged, more than likely the other one is also going to go out at the same time, meaning it's not true redundancy. The other issue is when these natural disasters strike, especially in the retail and insurance market, that's when your customers need you most. As you can see down in the bottom left, there's that retail store that has customers lined up outside the door. And the reason they're lined up is because there's a cash-only sign in the window, meaning they can't take credit cards because their internet connection's down. And so there's all these customers that don't have access to their homes or their supplies, or they've been lost in a disaster. And in the retail industry, their customers need them right then. This is also true in the insurance business. I was listening to NPR the other day, and they said pretty much any company with the name farm or state in its name was down there processing claims for all of their customers, which means there's a lot of CradlePoint devices deployed because they use those for the internet connection. Another key driver for having a backup internet connection is the drive towards cloud-based applications in businesses. On the retail side, more and more an internet connections required to process customers since they have a lot of solutions in the point of sale that require internet connection. They need to be able to process credit cards with customer loyalty cards to monitor what customers are buying and target ads to them more specifically. Also emailing digital receipts, and then real-time inventory and distribution updates, as well as mobile and social networking applications that allow businesses to target customers. And in the branch office side, it's becoming more and more important to store information in the cloud rather than on-site in local hard drives or laptops that can either be stolen or crash, and thus that information is lost. And so for claims processing and in billing systems, being able to issue a quote, the Achilles heel for most of these things is the broadband network connection, meaning they have to have an internet connection 24/7. And so having a wired plus a wireless backup solution is the solution that many customers are moving towards now. So why would you want 4G for business? Well, one of the main reasons is the speed of recovery. When a natural disaster hits, when it takes out the wired internet connection, it often takes a long time to get that back up and running. The damaged infrastructure has to be found. It's often underground and repaired, and it can take up to many weeks and even a couple months in some cases. And on the wireless side, even when a tower is damaged, carriers maintain a fleet of vehicles that they can truck in to set up mobile towers to speed disaster recovery, and they're called COLTs, or cell-on-light trucks, that they bus into these natural disaster sites to get the cellular network up and running quickly. The other issue is for redundancy, because redundancy equals availability. Cable and DSL lines are typically down between 1% and 2% of the time for whatever reason, be it a natural disaster or a backhoe hits one of the trenches that these lines are buried in. And using a 3G or 4G failover solution as a redundant internet connection can increase uptime or decrease downtime by a factor of 10. It can give you T1 reliability when you pair DSL with 3G, 4G at higher bandwidth and lower latency for a fraction of the cost. And also time equals money. With businesses, especially pop-up retail or businesses that want to open a new retail store, they often have to wait 4 to 6 weeks for a cable or DSL line to be trenched to be put in the store. We have a case study on our website about Pandora retail business that used CradlePoint to accelerate the opening of their store by 4 to 6 weeks just by using the CradlePoint device as a primary connect because it was so quick to deploy. And then once the DSL was added, they used that as their primary connection and the 3G, 4G as a backup solution. And they said they were able to avoid an opportunity cost of $50,000 to $100,000 just by opening early. And so CradlePoint provides a complete solution. Down on the bottom left, we have our enterprise router. This is our ARC MBR 1400 with embedded 3G, 4G. It also accepts wired WAN connections like cable or DSL, and it can run an entire small business or branch office. It's got the Ethernet LAN ports for printers, computers, and local infrastructure, as well as Wi-Fi. On the bottom right, we have our M2M products. Our core, this is a small metal router. It fits easily in M2Ms, kiosk, ATMs. It's got locking power connector, extended temperature range, and it's really popular for M2M devices. But the one I'm going to talk most about today is that one in the bottom middle, the Enterprise Bridge, or ARC CBA 750B, with integrated 3G, 4G to add overlay failover to a solution. We also have on-site services up there in the upper right for site surveys to determine which cellular carriers are the best used in an area, their signal strength, and helping you to know if you need to deploy external antennas as well, installation services and maintenance. And we have a network of over 9,000 trained technicians across the United States and Canada that can help with these site surveys, installation, and support services. And we also have our Enterprise Cloud Manager up there in the upper left. This is our next generation cloud management platform that's replacing Wi-Fi Central here over the next year. We'll be rolling customers to this, but it's really the first of its kind real-time network cloud management over the 3G, 4G network that I'll talk a bit more about in a minute. So business continuity, what solutions does CradlePoint have available? Again, there in the upper left is our MBR 1400. It is the one router that could run the business, accept both a wired and a wireless WAN connection. And the one we're talking about today is this overlay failover. Because we realize a lot of customers already have a network built up, ready to go, primarily with maybe a Cisco or a Juniper router, and they don't want to have to replace all of their network infrastructure just to add 4G backup. And CradlePoint can do this with our CBA 750B. And we have another number of customers in the retail and branch offices that are doing just this today. So what does it look like? Well, you've got an existing router with a cable or DSL modem plugged into it. And what our CBA 750 does is it converts that wireless connection to a carrier into a wired connection that can plug into the existing WAN port on that router, the secondary WAN port on your existing router. And it's really powerful because it allows you to do IP pass-through. And this basically converts the IP address given by the tower, often set up for businesses via static, publicly addressable IP address, and passes it straight through to the existing router. So to your existing router, it looks like just another wired Ethernet connection. And it requires very little setup, drop-in, overlay failover, and can be added as is to most existing infrastructure. It's also designed to be building friendly. So what you've got is your equipment room in most buildings is not in an RF-friendly space. It's often in the basement, in the middle of the building, somewhere you don't get great cellular reception. And many solutions, if you want to add 3G or 4G backup, simply plug into the router in that equipment room, meaning you either get no reception or have to cable out expensive low-loss cable to the edge of the building, which can run hundreds of dollars for the really high or low-loss stuff. Or you can deploy a CradlePoint CBA 750 with Power over Ethernet. It allows you to place that device where the signal is good on the outside of the building. And then you connect that CBA 750 using existing Ethernet infrastructure in the building and cable it back to the equipment room, plugging it into the redundant WAN port under your existing router. And then it can be powered using Power over Ethernet, meaning with a PoE injector inside of the equipment room, often built into the equipment already there, the Cisco or Juniper router, meaning you don't have to wire any power out to the CradlePoint device either. And this is really powerful since most buildings already have existing Ethernet infrastructure, and if they don't, it's a lot less expensive to add that than low-loss coaxial cable, and no other power source is required. Drop-in solution for a much less expensive overall solution than pretty much anything else in the market. And so what does this? What are the capabilities of the CBA 750B? Well, it allows you to drop in an overlay failover solution, and it converts this 3G, 4G signal to Ethernet to use to plug into the existing infrastructure. It includes Power over Ethernet, and it's an incremental cost to your network. It doesn't require a forklift upgrade for the entire network. You can leave all the rest of your existing infrastructure. It has the flexibility to use both router mode and IP pass-through mode. I talked about IP pass-through mode where you can get a static IP address and pass it directly through the router into your existing infrastructure, publicly addressable so you can be reached, or it can be run in router mode with NATing and other security features. So the CradlePoint adds another level of security. Again, Wi-Fi is not included in this device. It can be firmware disabled in any of our other devices, but in this device, it is physically not present. And that simply makes the PCI and HIPAA compliance a little easier to maintain, since Wi-Fi is something you don't have to worry about at all. We have embedded solutions with embedded 4G solutions certified in Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, Clearwire, and we also work with all the latest USB and express card modems from the major carriers. On our website, we have guides on how to set this device up using CradlePoint and Cisco. And you can find this at our website, cradlepoint.com/CBA750B, in the products and documents section with a setup guide for configuring CradlePoint to work with Cisco. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about our Enterprise Cloud Manager. This is the first of its kind real-time network management optimized for the 3G, 4G network. It allows you to manage, deploy, and gather intelligence for your network in real time. It allows you to configure thousands of devices at the same time, configure them in groups, and then add individual policies of desired to individual routers. It allows you to configure it more quickly and test it to make sure it's up to date. It allows you to manage it, make sure your health, do health monitoring, see how many clients are attached, see that your 3G, 4G signal is good, and test your throughputs. It allows you to make configuration changes remotely and apply firmware upgrades at the touch of a button to thousands of devices distributed across the world. It also allows your device to be more secure. You can set policy alerts to make sure configuration changes aren't happening, suspicious activity isn't taking place, and it allows you to maintain PCI compliance. And again, this is really important in the retail industry because the payment card industry has these standards that retailers are expected to maintain to protect sensitive credit card data. And part of that is maintaining your firmware upgrades. That's part of the PCI compliance standards. And Enterprise Cloud Manager will automatically notify customers when a new firmware upgrade is available. CradlePoint releases those approximately quarterly, so about 4 times a year with maintenance upgrades, firmware upgrades, new modems, and new security as required. And it allows you, Enterprise Cloud Manager also allows you to lock down your configuration. So if somebody on site makes a local change that's unauthorized, it will automatically revert to the policies established by your central administrator. It also allows you to customize the device, and it has an open API infrastructure. Say you already have a single pane of glass that manages your entire network infrastructure. You don't necessarily want to have to log into Enterprise Cloud Manager every single time to just see if the devices are up. You can tie into the API that'll display this, some of the variables from the Enterprise Cloud Manager into, say, your HP OpenView management system. See that your CradlePoint devices are up and running, and if they are, just fine. If there's a problem, then you can log into Enterprise Cloud Manager, dig in deeper. It also allows you to gather intelligence from your network, look at analytics, data usage, set alerts to make sure you don't go over your data plans, because most of these are metered in the 3G, 4G space, and allows you to process reports on anything available pretty much in the router. And so finally, we also have our PCI Compliance white paper, specifically written for CradlePoint deployments. We've been deployed in several very large PCI compliant commercial networks. We have worked with an approved scanning vendor to make sure our routers are capable to be set up in these PCI compliant networks. And this article is available at request on our website. And so you can go there, and we will get you that article to make sure you can maintain your PCI compliance. And finally, CradlePoint allows you to choose your carrier. We are carrier agnostic, but we are certified on all the carriers. And we recognize most customers have a preferred carrier. But that preferred carrier can generally only cover between 80 and 90% of deployments. So CradlePoint gives you the flexibility to use that carrier for most of your deployments, and where you need better reception on a different carrier for some reason, we allow you to the flexibility to use a secondary vendor or even a third one. So CradlePoint provides the total solution in summary. We allow you to assess the environment to make sure you're going to have success before you get started. Check your cellular reception. Make sure your Wi-Fi coverage is going to be good enough. Do the on-site surveys. Will allow you to plan your network, to design the solution, select your carrier, and then deploy. Make sure you can install and configure your network in groups with thousands at a time. We have on-site services available and the Enterprise Cloud Manager that allow you to set up many devices at a single time. Then we can manage them, upgrade firmware, apply configuration changes, set alerts, and monitor the health of your network. And then finally, optimize it. We have 24/7 dedicated support available with engineers, strategic partnerships, and then an extensive knowledge base online to make sure you have access to information about our products and to ensure the success of your network.
Thank you, David.